Women Work Well is a community that centers working moms and offers resources to help working moms balance work, wellness, and womanhood. We profile everyday women to show you how to live abundantly, love your babies, and level up in your career. Welcome to Women Work Well.
Hello. I love how you matched me. I love it. Lisa, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Women Work Well. Women Work Well is a community. We help you love your babies, level up in your career, and live abundantly. I am so grateful for my friend Lisa joining us. I am going to ask you to introduce yourself.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. You and I recently were sitting on a panel together, but we've known each other for a very long time, Desiree. And we said, I have a podcast called Something Extra. And I said, you need to come on my podcast. You go, well, you need to come on my podcast. So that is why we're here today. And I'm so excited. So thank you so much for inviting me. But my name's Lisa Nichols. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Technology Partners. We're a full service IT firm headquartered in St. Louis, doing all kinds of amazing things around technology. If it's technology related, Desiree, we've probably done it. If we haven't, we have trusted partners, but have been doing that. Now, here's the really interesting thing that we could probably spend a whole podcast on. The interesting thing about this, my husband and I, Greg, spent the first 10 years of our career in corporate America. 29 years ago, walked down on a Saturday to our basement and said, let's start a company.
I love that. I love that for so many reasons, because you just hopped over. You're like, yeah, I'm a CEO. But what that means is you're a boss, right? Mm-hmm. You are making deals. You are making things happen. And you're also a mom. So tell me about your motherhood journey.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting one too. So our first child was born, Jordan, in 92. Along comes Paige, our daughter, in 93. We started Technology Partners in 94.
Oh my gosh.
Had our third child, Allie, in 95.
Oh my gosh.
So I look back on those years, Desiree, and I'm like, how in the world did I manage all that? But I think it's one of those things when you don't know any better. I just changed a few more diapers. I truly had three in diapers, three and under. But wow, it has definitely been a journey. My kids probably have been some of my greatest teachers, as I know yours have as well. And they don't come with playbooks. Desiree,
they should.
And every one of them, they're different. In fact, our youngest daughter, Allie, was born with special needs. And so we've got the gamut, we've got the boy and the girl and then little special needs girls. And now, Desiree, this is cool. And you haven't gotten to this point yet, but we're grandparents.
So, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So beautiful.
So we got a little 10-year-old grandson, Sawyer, that we're reliving all of it now, going to soccer games and doing all of that.
So as you think about your journey, as you think about building this company, having this dream, you probably had two sets of dreams. You want your children to learn and to grow and to develop, and you want to nurture this thing that you believe in, right? And that obviously has shown itself to be so successful. So how did you hold those two things in tension? And maybe did you ever experience my guilt?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, you're guilty about something all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's either, I need to be supporting the team more in this area. A lot of people talk about work-life balance, Desiree, and I think it just ebbs and flows. And I think there have been times, I'll just tell you, just very vulnerably, our middle daughter has experienced a lot, not our daughter with special needs, but our middle daughter, Paige, has experienced a lot of health issues the last 4 years. Well, there have been things that I've just wow, I would love to do that in the business. I would love to maybe start this new initiative, but it ebbs and flows. And I remember, I bet you know her too, but Meredith Knopf is a really dear friend of mine. And Meredith was SVP for JA and then went over to Mission Continues. Now she's the CEO for the St. Louis Food Bank. And I remember telling her one time, I said, oh my goodness, Meredith. I said, I feel like a plate spinner. I'm just coming over here and, oh, this one's shaky and wobbly. I better go stabilize this one. And I'll never forget this, Desiree. She goes, dear, might I suggest that you change to paper plates?
Ooh.
That needs to go on a t-shirt.
It does.
Paper plates.
That's quotable. So I think what I hear you saying is you prioritize what is most important in that moment. That also you recognize your limitations, that you won't be able to do it all, right? I was reading this New York Times article, and the premise of it was like, we got to free ourselves from this idea of mommy guilt, because really when it boils down to it, just doing the best you can do day in and day out. And so I love what you said of, hey, we're switching to paper plates.
Right. It is about prioritization. It truly is. And I was thinking about this, and I know you probably are familiar with the EOS model, but the EOS model is elevate and delegate. But I think sometimes we need to eliminate. Right.
Yeah.
We need to, sometimes I call it having a meeting with yourself. You plan that meeting with yourself to go, how are things going? And where am I feeling some stress? And sometimes we're doing things that really, truly, like the Eisenhower matrix, that like the important, the urgent. Sometimes we're doing things that feel urgent, but they're really, in the scheme of things, not that important. And it's really important for you as a person, an individual, to sit with yourself and take stock of those things and go, wow, I'm doing this over here. Do I really need to be in that organization right now? Even though I might enjoy doing it, is it really something I need to be doing right now?
Is it the thing? I think my counselor would call that mindfulness, and being aware of like, I am stressed out. I have to tell you, last night, I was stressed out, and I was like, what are the things that are going to fuel my spirit? So I was driving a car, and I'm like, I'm stopping by my dad's house. And so I went, and I had this, and it wasn't long, but I had this interaction, this moment with my dad and his partner, and it just really fueled my spirit. And then I'm like, and I'm calling my best friend. And so had a couple of moments, and then I was like, and I'm going roller skating. I did all of that last night, because this idea that I recognize, like, I'm stressed. I don't want to carry this. I can't afford to carry this. There are people who are depending on me. So what is it like to try to proactively be aware of what I'm feeling and maybe make a different set of choices? So I love what you said there.
Because we can't, I mean, it serves no one for us to show up as our stressed, crazy, chaotic self. And in fact, Desiree, I would even go to say we can cause more damage. I think when we do show, I know for me, if I'm tired, if I'm stressed, I'm going to be shorter with my answers. I'm going to probably say some cutting words that really are not the best thing for the recipient to hear, all of those things. So yeah, it's really important. But here's the other thing I would say. We all get there. We all have those moments, right? Where we're just overwhelmed. Recognize it.
But the goal is that they happen potentially less and less frequently. There is this recognition that there are a set of things that are outside of our control, right? And so we're going to be presented with people we can't control. How other people treat us, we also can't control, like sometimes situations out of our control. But I've really been trying to lean into, I'm going to control what I can control, right? And I had this moment with my daughter. So I have a 16-year-old, 2 13-year-olds, and a 10-year-old in this blended family. And so one of my daughters, she was giving me the business. Like, she was having a morning. So she was trying to bring me with her. She was trying to bring me down with her. And I'm like driving, like I'm listening to my gospel music. And in my brain, I'm like, I am not about to join, like, in this place that you're in. So right before I'm about to drop her off, I offered her one of her favorite things, something she likes to do. And she was like, well, why are you offering me? Like, because you're not going to take my joy. And also, I love you unconditionally. And I want to model for you. Sometimes, like, you can break up an interaction by choosing something different. And she was like, so when you said, like, showing up short or sort of not being your best self. That's what it made me think about. But also when we choose something different, hopefully give the people around us.
That's such great advice, because if you go where they are,
Mhm.
they're gonna both stay there, right?
Yes, I think the quote says, when they go low, we go high. And so I live that even for my kiddo. And you mentioned your daughter, Allie. I love to see your posts on social media. The love is palpable, and just your commitment to family and also community is something that I think I see in you. I just want to ask though, as parents who may have a special needs child, like, how did you find the space to advocate for her? Like, how did you figure out all of the things that you needed to do? And like, maybe what recommendations?
Yeah, that is a great question. I will say we are incredibly fortunate in St. Louis. We have so many resources, Desiree. And I know because about the same time that Allie was born in 95, we had some friends in Kentucky. We're originally from Kentucky that had a child with Down syndrome.
Okay.
And it broke my heart because they did not have the resources that we have here. But in St. Louis, I would say just start talking to people. But like here in St. Louis, and I just listed a few here. If you're in St. Louis, and I know you have listeners from all over, but if you're in St. Louis, there's a St. Louis ARC. There is an organization called TASK. One that we're very familiar with and very interested. Aaron Suleman is the ED for the DSA, the Down Syndrome Association of Greater St. Louis. So we're very involved there. We're also very involved in the pool host. The pool host, Albert Pool Host, number 5, retired last year. He and his wife, Deirdre, have a daughter with Down syndrome, Bella. And so many years ago, they saw the gap, things, and I believe they started with the prom. What they would see is these children were not always invited to the homecomings, and they wanted that. Allie was very involved at an early age with stages.
Okay.
Arts Academy.
Yeah.
And they had a little group called Troop Broadway that would dance and sing and go to Knights of Columbus and do a performance. I mean, she came out of the womb as a performer. Let me just. So we saw that very early on, and I know a lot of Downs kids are just very gregarious. They're very out there, very extroverted. Yes. So for us, we've always tried to just foster opportunity for her, right? And not look at the limitations, possibilities, and are incredible. And in fact, I'll just tell you just a really quick little story. So there is an organization here in St. Louis that helps people with mental health issues and their family, supports them, called the Independence Center. It's an amazing organization here. And so every year their large fundraiser is Dancing with St. Louis Stars. So they had been asking me for years, Lisa, please come dance. Be one of the community leaders, come dance. And Desiree, I said, I'm sorry, I would love to do that. And I know you're a dancer too. I grew up ballroom dancing, but I did ballet and tap and jazz and that sort of thing. But they kept saying, come and dance and be one of the, and I said, I just don't have the margin. It's one of those things, I'm like, do I need to be doing this right now? I don't have the margin to do all the practicing. And so one year in 2018, they said, hey, we know you can't dance, but would you come be a judge? And I'm like, oh, I can do that. That's a one-night commitment, right? Just go and sit up on the stage and, say a few words. Well, my husband, Greg, got the flu that weekend and he was in bed. So here comes Saturday night. It's a black tie event. I'm like, okay, I got to go to this thing all by myself. So I said to Allie, I'm like, hey, Al, I've got this Dancing with the Stars thing. Would you want to do that with it? She goes, yes, I love Dancing with the Stars. So she gets all dolled up, comes Desiree. It only takes about 5 minutes. She's got people wrapped right here on her pinky in about 5 minutes. So the chair of the board said afterwards, he goes, Lisa, I have an idea for you. And I said, what's your idea? And he said, next year, let Allie dance and you can raise the money. And I said, are you serious? Because I was trying to reconcile. They'd never had anything like that before. Always community leaders. And I'm like, how is that going to work? He goes, yeah. He goes, I definitely think it's a good idea because she will get a lot more votes than you will. I
So
said,
funny.
you're probably right about that.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'll ask her. And so Greg and I sat her down and said, hey, you had this opportunity to be on stage. Do you want to do it? She goes, yes, I do, because I have moves.
What?
I've got room.
I love it. I love it.
Really, the story is in 2019, she did Dancing with the St. Louis Stars and she won.
I love it.
And the next year, then they included some children. I mean, it could
Yeah.
set a bit of a trajectory for a different kind of flavor.
Yeah.
And so, but Desiree, here's the thing. If I had said to the gentleman that, and he is now since deceased, and it just makes my heart so sad, but I know he's watching from heaven and seeing Allie continue with her dancing. But, you know, when he asked me if I'd said, oh, I don't know, I don't want her to be embarrassed. What if she fails? What if she can't learn the dance? I mean, if I had done that, then we would not have had the journey that we've had with her.
Yeah.
And now she's been invited. She's been invited in November to the Imperial Ball in Chicago. And so she's going to compete with typical developing people, not special needs people, but just the possibilities. Think about the possibilities and don't focus on the limitation.
I think that's so powerful. I heard so many things in what you said. Number one, recognizing her skills and what she was interested in and what she could do at an early age. And so you nurtured that, right? And gave her those opportunities to grow and develop. And I think that's really powerful. Also, I heard you list off a bunch of organizations. So mamas, if you are here in St. Louis and need some resources, I hope that those are helpful, because it sort of illuminates this idea of community and the need for community, and that probably can't do it alone, right? Mm-hmm. And asking for help, accessing help. And then this idea of everybody has a purpose. Everybody has skills, gifts, talents, and abilities. And as a mama, it sounds like you leaned in and said, what are all of the amazing things my baby can do? And then how can I support her in doing those things? So I think those are really beautiful lessons. And I hope that people are able to glean.
Yeah, you're welcome. We could go on and on, I'm sure.
And it's funny because even as you're saying this, I'm like, it makes total sense. You can feel her energy emanating through the photos and the various things that you post. I really do love that. I want to talk a little bit about what anchors you and how you navigate. What is that litmus, that sort of thing that you go back to, and how does it influence maybe how you show up in business, and how does it influence how you show up in life and for your kiddos?
I will tell you, the anchor for my soul is my faith. Mm-hmm. Without my faith, Desiree, I could do nothing. I am nothing. It is my go-to. Yes. Even when I'm not really sure. We talked about this before. These kiddos do not come with playbooks, and every one of my children are very different. And I remember a time, I'm just going to tell you a little story. I remember a time with our oldest son, Jordan. He's now 31, doing great, lives in Utah, loving life. But I remember he was one of these kids that always pushed the envelope. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know if anybody.
Gotta be one. There's got to be one.
Oh my goodness. Just always pushed. Incredibly skilled, incredibly talented. Just has so many gifts, this kid. But he would push the envelope. And I just remember one time just being really discouraged, Desiree, and going, I don't know what to do with this kid. If this kid had a different mama, he would probably be better off. That's what the echo in my head, right? And just the voices in our head that we tell ourselves sometimes, and just feeling very inadequate as his mom and just lost. And I remember being in the scripture, because I try to be in the scripture every single day. It sets the tone for my day. It helps me navigate situations. And I remember being in the scripture, and I've never heard God's audible voice talking to me, but he talks to me all the time in my spirit. And here's what the voice said. I could have chosen anyone in this world to be his mom, but I chose you. And I will help you if you will trust me. Mm-hmm. And you can't do this alone because you
Right.
don't know. I created him. I know. I see the big picture. You do not. And I've never forgotten that. He could have chosen anybody in the world, Desiree, to be my son's mom, but he chose me.
There's something about you and what you have to give, impart, and something about the way that only you can nurture his gifts and skills and areas of opportunity, right? And so for me, that sort of illuminates that even in the most difficult moments of parenthood, that because of this like connection that we were chosen to be in these young lives, that means that we're going to have everything we need to be able to withstand, right? And so even on the days when I asked my daughter for a hug and she says, no, respect my boundaries, then I can be assured that, you know what, not going to stay like this always. Will transition because I was selected to be her mama for me.
You were selected for a reason. And you just said something I want to piggyback off of. I am so far from the perfect. I've made so many mistakes. One of the things my kids have taught me, though, humility. If you think you got it all figured out, Desiree.
Also, kids will humble you if you ask them for their opinion.
Oh, absolutely, they will. I remember, I'm going to tell you a funny story. One time, my middle daughter, she told me, she goes, Mom, you need to be more fun with your hair. It looks like you're wearing a wig because it's always like perfect every day. You need to be more fun. You need to curl it. Yeah, they will be totally honest with you.
Unsolicited advice. Thank you.
Unsolicited advice, yeah. But the one thing that I would say, Desiree, is you have in your own mind what you think, right, for your children and your expectation and your dreams for them, right? Just let me tell you, they don't always go as you've scripted it in your mind, right? And we all have the time, but I've got so many stories. No, that's not the script that I wrote, but this is how it's going. The thing that I would say, though, that is so critical is your children to feel unconditional love. No matter what, when they disappoint you, when they don't meet the expectation, that they still feel the unconditional love, that they know that their mama is.
I love that so much because I always tell my daughter, I'm your number one fan, right? I will go to the end of the earth for you. Our challenge right now, Kimberly, in our household is I'm holding my kiddos. They don't like it. And it's not fun. And I say to them, the easier choice for me to make is just to be like, okay, whatever. That's the easier choice, right? It actually takes more work for me to parent you. It actually takes more work for me to follow up, for me to follow through on what I said I was going to do. And I would be doing you a disservice if I allowed you to just do what you want to do, because that's not the actual world. And I think that just the idea it's going to be rocky sometimes, knowing that, just expecting that. Also, we said earlier, it does, right? It absolutely does get better. 3, I have to remind myself as a parent that I can create opportunities for you. I can ensure that you are able to make a certain set of choices. And then you are autonomous and you're going to make a choice. I may not like said choice, but I have to be in position, A, to pick you up if you need it, B, to cheer you on when it's a great choice, and sort of C, to help you process and think through that thing and sort of be there for you. I love it. Knowing that this is a community of mamas who are doing all of the things, maybe feel stretched, clearly are balancing it well. I do think the idea of work-life balance is a bit of a fallacy because things may not be in the perfect harmony, but there is a way to make a beauty out of kind of what's given. So for mamas who may be struggling, who may be, during the daycare dash, who may be trying to figure out how they show up for their older child, what encouragement?
Oh gosh, there's so much. How much time do we have? The first thing I would say is you can't do it alone. Okay. Don't be afraid. sometimes to ask for help, I would say still find a tribe. Still find a tribe. It could be a neighbor. It could be another mom at your child's school that is also a working mom. How can you support one another? Maybe to activities after school. Maybe your child and their child play soccer. Well, trade off. And then that at least is an hour or two that you can maybe have back.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is
hard. And for us, Desiree, when we have no family here.
Mm-hmm.
We're originally from Kentucky. We have no family. So when my kids were babies, fortunately, Greg and I had been very involved in youth at our church.
Mm-hmm.
And we had led the youth for 7 or 8 years before we started having children. So fortunately for us,
you had some folks on standby.
But I
love it.
Lined up,
I love it.
Help us, but yeah,
find the hope and find the help.
Find the help, yes, and find your tribe that can encourage you. I think what you're doing here, Desiree, is incredible. It's incredible because there may be a mama that is listening, and you put out this nugget that can change the trajectory of their day.
I hope so.
And
I hope so. Thank you for being a part of this, and thank you so much for everything you shared. And we will be with you soon with our next installment of Women Work Well. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day. Bye.
Bye.